Do you want to make your house smell amazing and feel like you're eating pumpkin pie for breakfast? Of course you do. You've got to try these Paleo pumpkin muffins. Hey guys, I'm Nikki Sizemore. Welcome to my kitchen. Welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited because today we're making muffins. As you may know, I have a serious passion for muffins, and I think these are my very favorite. We're making Paleo pumpkin pie muffins. They have this super tender, almost creamy crumb that's reminiscent of pumpkin pie, all of the classic pumpkin pie spices, but unlike a lot of muffins, which are really just mini cakes, these are actually super nutritious. They are completely grain-free, they're naturally sweetened, high in fiber and protein, all that stuff, but they taste like pumpkin pie. They're so good. Can't wait to show you how to make them. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe. That way you won't miss out on any of my wholesome, family-friendly, and naturally gluten-free recipes. So this batter gets made in a blender or a food processor. These muffins are actually adapted from a recipe in my first book, the Food Processor Family Cookbook. You don't have to dirty any mixing bowls. I'm using a Vitamix today. If you don't have a Vitamix or a food processor, I do include instructions on how to use hand blenders in the recipe link below. So we're gonna start by adding the wet ingredients. Whenever you're using a Vitamix or a food processor to make batters, which I love doing, you wanna start with the wet ingredients. So I have a 1.5 cups of pumpkin puree. This is just canned pumpkin puree. Just standing here, it already smells like fall with all of these spices. And I gotta say, it makes me really happy. I have 2/3 cup of maple syrup, or you could use honey, or you could even use coconut sugar, and then some melted coconut oil. You could use a neutral vegetable oil instead if you prefer. A teaspoon of vanilla extract. And then let's go for all of the spices. So I have 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, a teaspoon of ground nutmeg, ground ginger, and then ground cloves, which smell like fall. These are things I always have in my spice cabinet. And then last but not least, some fine sea salt. Pop the lid on and blend this until smooth. Now we're gonna add 4 large eggs, but instead of cracking them directly into the blender container where you could get eggshell in there and then it's hard to dig out, I like to crack them into a separate bowl. All right, these are gonna go into the blender, and we'll blend those just for a few seconds to incorporate them. That's perfect. And now for the dry ingredients. So I'm using almond flour here. You're gonna need 3 cups of almond flour. I include weight measurements in the recipe. I always recommend weighing out your flours. It's so much more accurate and it's a lot easier too. But don't worry, if you don't have a scale, it's 3 cups. Just be sure that you spoon the almond flour into the cups. That way it won't be too tightly packed. Add that right in. Next I have 2 tablespoons of coconut flour. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but the coconut flour is actually really important to the recipe. What it does is it creates this kind of creamy texture in the inside of the muffins. And coconut flour absorbs a ton of liquid, so a little goes a long way in anything you're making. And then last but not least, I have some baking powder. Get a spatula ready, and we're going to blend this just until everything is incorporated, but you wanna stop and scrape down the sides as you go. Make sure that you incorporate all the flour. This makes it nice and smooth. All right, the batter is good to go. I've got 12 muffin cups that I've lined with parchment papers. Just be sure to give the batter one last stir. You just don't want any little streaks of flour in there. And now we're just going to fill up our muffin cups. And to do that, I like to use an ice cream scoop with a lever. Makes it really simple. You wanna fill these pretty high. They get a really nice dome on top. You will have a little bit of extra batter, so if you have another muffin tin, you can always squeak out another muffin or 2 if you want. Now, one last thing. You can bake these just as they are, but I love a little bit of crunch on top, so I'm gonna sprinkle some chopped pecans over each. All right, we're gonna bake these in a 350-degree oven for about 30 to 35 minutes. Be sure to rotate the pans halfway through cooking. Oh, they smell so good. Bake the muffins just until they're light golden brown and a toothpick inserted in the center comes out clean. Let them cool in the pan for about 10 minutes, transfer them to a cooling rack, and then let them cool completely. Now, if you can, let the muffins cool before serving. I know it's a lot to ask. They'll still be delicious if you eat them warm, but once they cool, all of those spices will have had time to like marry together and they get even better. So this interior is so special because it's creamy and yet it's really light, and that's all because of the coconut flour. They're delicious all on their own, but if you want to take it over the top, smear it with some salted butter. That texture is so similar to pumpkin pie. And you've got the crunchy pecans, all of those spices. Pour myself a cup of coffee. This is my happy place. I hope you guys give these muffins a try. You can get all of the measurements, the full recipe at the link below. Let me know if you try them in the comments. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you next time.